Okay, have spice cravings got you down? That was a cheesy line to open with. But have spice cravings got you down after Dune Part 2? That's the real question I want to know. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen Dune 2. I just watched it when it came out last week. Oh my God, was this film good? And I've been wanting to talk about it for so long now. I think I even said in my first video, I am so ready to talk about Dune 2. I'm ready to talk about how surprisingly great Timothée Chalamet is. I've actually never really noticed how great of an actor he was. I've seen him in Beautiful Boy. What a film. That was excellent. And I'd seen him in actually one of the films that we're going to be talking about very, very soon. Okay, Fremen Friends. You know, I wrote some cheesy lines just to reference, and that one was the one I was kind of dreading. Fremen Friends. Fremen? I feel fake saying it. I need to have Zendaya's voice to say it. I wanted to talk to you all about movies that if you like Dune 2, you will love these ones. These are similar in feel, they're similar in theme, they're similar in setting to Dune 2. Because I, for one, after leaving Dune 2, I didn't really notice how long the film was. If anything, I was hoping for more. I wanted more. I could have gone another hour, to be honest, which was actually quite surprising. But I can imagine we're going to have a bit of a wait before we get Dune Messiah, which will be coming next. So let's get into a brief overview of Dune 2, a slight review, obviously no spoilers. I don't want to ruin this movie for anyone because I still know it's so new. Maybe a few of you haven't seen it yet. And if you have seen Dune, definitely go check out Dune 2 because honestly, I watched them back to back and Dune 2 is significantly better than Dune 1. Sorry, that might be a controversial opinion, but it is. So like I said, this is spoiler-free zone. Paul, was he the chosen one? Or just a dude with a serious Messiah complex? We do not know. Well, I know after watching it. But he's actually kind of a bit of a in Dune 2. I mean, there's a certain event that takes place, spoiler-free. There's a certain event that takes place. He does a thing, and then he becomes a bit of a madman, which is great to watch unfold. There's so much more political intrigue in this movie. The characters, honestly, is insane. The cast is stacked. Definitely, I believe a lot of them signed on as a promise that in Dune Messiah they were going to have a much bigger role. I know that was the case for Florence Pugh specifically and Anya Taylor-Joy. Anya Taylor-Joy, unless you knew she was in this movie, you probably wouldn't have recognized her. She was literally on the screen for maybe 0.2 seconds. I know her face well, so I clocked her. But if you weren't prepared for her, you probably would have missed her. God forbid you blinked too long, she would have been gone. The battles are more intense. Honestly, as soon as the film starts, it is non-stop action until the very end. The sandworm scenes are insane. There's more riding of sandworms, a lot more detailed this time around, and there's more of them. I feel like in the first one, we maybe had one kind of intense look at one, but in the second one, such clear visuals with these sandworms. It's incredible. We get way more inner monologue in this one. Some may say too much. I would say not enough. Just kidding. I'd say it's just enough. Zendaya is honestly incredible. This film really does highlight the young up-and-coming Hollywood actors, like the Zendayas and the Timothée Chalamets and Florence Pugh and Anya Taylor-Joy, even though she's there for 0.2 seconds. Austin Butler. I honestly was nervous, as most were, when I heard that he was going to be in Dune 2, because I loved Elvis. I did not love the side effects and impact it had on him after Elvis, you know? The voice began to become very grating. I don't like when it seems someone's forcing something. I know it is very likely his voice now, and that is fine. It just seemed almost like a very long bit that just wouldn't end. But in this movie, he's insane. He's one of the Harkonnens. His accent, I think he's doing Swedish. I'm pretty sure he's mimicking Stellan Skarsgård. Yeah, like I said, Timothée Chalamet really outdoes himself in this film. There was one scene specifically, if you were a film lover, you would have seen it going around on Twitter, where when I was watching it, I thought, this is his Oscar moment. They will show this clip at the Oscars right before he wins his award. It's honestly this dude is insane, especially going up against the likes of, Rebecca Ferguson. She's still pretty new to Hollywood, really. When did we first see her properly in Doctor Sleep, Mission Impossible, those films? But she's also incredible in this film as... Is that a spoiler? Maybe I should cut that one out. She is incredible in this film as Paul Atreides' mother. She is mother to me, mother to all. Okay, that was a long rambling of the cast. But Dune 2, the visuals are a feast for the eyes. They're such a treat. It's such a step up. There's moments in Dune 2 that look like almost like a work of art. Many moments, Paul Atreides standing on a rock overlooking the desert. And one particular scene where he's walking through a sea of people is honestly one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen on screen. The cinematographer, I should have looked up his name, Greg Fraser. That's it, Greg Fraser. Honestly, it's just incredible. To wrap up the kind of overview of Dune 2, it really is an impressive successor to the first movie. If you loved the first, you'd love the second, probably more. But like I said, it's a no-brainer that we all want more. We want more content, similar vibe to Dune 2. So these are the movies that I think if you love Dune 2, you will love these movies. First up, we have Mad Max Fury Road from 2015. This movie, precursor, I'll say right now, I saw this movie in movie theaters. I loved it so much. I went home, told all my friends about it and said, get your stuff, we're going right back to the movie theater and we're watching it. Because I watched it alone, which I do really enjoy watching movies alone. It's a different experience. You're not really thinking about what the other person feels, or like if they like it and you don't like it and you're like, why didn't I like it then? It's more freeing to see it by yourself. You can have more of a unbiased opinion. But yeah, I got my friends, we went right back to the movie theater and I watched it a second time within the space of like 5 hours. This movie is post-apocalyptic, similar vein. It's a desert landscape. It's obviously more editing-wise, more of an intense movie. I think for some, it's a difficult movie to watch. It can make you feel a bit sick. I didn't feel that way. I loved it. I loved the editing. I loved the energy of it. It's very chaotic. It's like being stuck in a twister for like 2.5 hours. But the landscape is barren. It's a desert. It's ravaged by resources. Very similar to Dune 2. Obviously, it follows Max. He's a drifter and a survivor, and he's captured by a warlord who is Immortan Joe, who is perhaps one of the scariest looking people I've seen on screen. Very, very creepy guy. And he is the guy that controls the water supply. So equivalent to Dune 2, where spices are currency, in Mad Max, it is water, and one man has control over all of that water. We, of course, have Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, who is incredible in this movie. I am very sad she is not coming back for the Furiosa movie. I think I have since learned it's because, I want to say who's the director, George Miller? I want to say that. If I cut that out, it is incorrect. I think he explicitly stated he would never work with Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron again. I think it was a bit of a difficult experience. But Furiosa defects from him and she leaves with his prized possessions, which are actually his wives. And then Furiosa joins forces with Max and they essentially try and, free the people, give them water, etc. Max becomes a sort of, he's a leader, but he's a silent leader. He leads with actions, I guess. He's not necessarily the warmest character. He's a difficult one. But they join forces and they have to take on Joe as he's pursuing them and trying to get his wives back. And ultimately, the film is you're trying to survive the desert landscape, which in itself is almost a character, which is almost really impressive. To make the landscape the character is quite incredible. And I feel like Dune 2 kind of shares a similar premise. Okay, next up, we have Interstellar 2014. This is one of Chris Nolan's best movies. I'm actually so upset he never won an Oscar for it. I think Interstellar is incredible. A lot of people had issues with Interstellar. I do understand. I think it comes down to, the sci-fi elements of it, specifically the black holes and the science behind a black hole. That's fine. I understand why people are upset. This film follows Matthew McConaughey's character. Earth is essentially becoming uninhabitable. Crops are dying, and I think it's sandstorms or dust storms happening. So there's a group of people, they have to go to space and they have to find different planets to try and figure out what's habitable and what's not. So it's Matthew McConaughey, it's Anne Hathaway, Timothée Chalamet is also in this movie as Matthew McConaughey's son. Matt Damon's in this movie. It's incredible. And it follows, Cooper. That is Matthew McConaughey. He's a former NASA pilot. And he's recruited for the mission. They go to space and they found a wormhole near Saturn. And they believe this could lead to a new home for humanity on another planet. Time in space moves a bit differently, a bit slower. So, they may not be aging very much in space, but on Earth people are. Not to spoil it. Okay, so the movie explores themes of love, the power of science, as well as sacrifice, which the sci-fi elements and sacrifice elements and love actually all relate to Dune in a very big way. Matthew McConaughey's character really grapples with having to leave his family, and he has to face the reality of having to find a new home on a different planet and a new home for all of humanity. So the similarities, of course, time and fate. The visual effects are so striking. The vastness of the film, in similar vein to the visuals, the VFX, and just the themes of love and battling your mind. You know what's best, but it goes against what you want because you love your family, you don't want to leave them, but you have to do this for the betterment of all of humanity. Paul Atreides battles with very similar things, obviously, being considered the Messiah, the one that's going to rise up, but is not necessarily in line with what he wants or who he is as a person. Okay, next up, we have some films I don't necessarily enjoy. Controversial. So I apologize in advance. Please don't yell at me. I don't like these movies. It is the original Star Wars trilogy from 1977 to 1983. So I apologize that I don't like these movies. I'm just not a big... don't know what it is about Star Wars. Me and Star Wars aren't compatible. But obviously everyone knows there is a galactic civil war happening in Star Wars between the Empire and the Rebel Alliance. So obviously some of the characters are Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, all the good ones. But Luke is a young farm boy, I believe, and he is drawn into the conflict when he meets someone who has a message from the rebellion. The rebellion, of course, are a group of freedom fighters led by Princess Leia, and they're fighting to overthrow the Emperor, Darth Vader, who is obviously very creepy. And I think everyone knows at this point the big spoiler of Star Wars. I won't say it here. Maybe I'll say it very quietly. He is Luke's father, Darth Vader. Luke obviously embodies a hero's journey in this movie. He struggles with it big time. And it battles consistently between good and evil, as Dune 2 does as well. I think if you watched Dune 2 and you left it feeling like Paul was a great person, you didn't understand Dune 2. Dune 2 is actually, we're now following almost an antagonist, which isn't great. Like Paul in the first one, completely different to Paul in the second one. He is now, he's a messiah. He's not necessarily good. He's about to go and he is going to destroy. His plan is to destroy families. And Lady Jessica may just be one of the most terrifying characters. We have to now know, like, they are not necessarily good anymore, but they know this is what is written. This is the prophecy. This is what he is supposed to do. Like Zendaya in the second one, I'd probably hitch on a sandworm and ride away. So Star Wars is, in my opinion, the lesser Dune. George Lucas did take heavily from Frank Herbert's book, which is Dune. And I think once you realize that, is very clear. There's a lot of parallels. It's just not as great as the original source material. There is, of course, mysterious orders, fallen messiahs, world building. There's lots of similar parallels to Dune. So if you do love Dune, you should watch the original Star Wars trilogy. But if you're like me, you may not like it. And that's fine. So heading back into the desert, we have Lawrence of Arabia from 1962. This has many parallels to Dune, probably maybe the closest on our list. The premise of the movie follows T.E. Lawrence. He's a British officer stationed in Cairo during World War One. So Lawrence is sent to Arabia to assess the Arab revolt that's happening out there and see if any of them are viable to the British Army. However, like Paul Atreides, he ends up going against his initial mission, and he ends up uniting various tribes to lead a guerrilla attack against the Turks, and in turn becoming a legend among Arabs. The film itself explores a lot of challenges he faces, navigating political agendas, very much like Paul Atreides. He faces the brutality of war, as well as the fate of his own growing fame, which is such a key plot point in Dune 2 with Paul Atreides. He's becoming notorious in a sense. Everyone knows him now. They're putting him on a pedestal, and he's got to grapple with that level of fame and what that comes with. And finally, we have Blade Runner 2049, released in 2017. This is another Villeneuve movie. Obviously, it was directed, the original, by Ridley Scott. Villeneuve took on the daunting task of directing a sequel to a smash hit movie from the 80s. I believe he actually has mixed feelings about his own movie, and I think he even said he would never try and tackle a sequel again, which is actually baffling to me because this movie is superb. So it's quite sad hearing that he wasn't so much of a fan, or maybe the reception wasn't so great at the time. I'm not really sure. I struggle to remember the initial feedback of this film. So this film takes place 30 years after the events of the original. And what's so great about this one, and it's something I would say, if you're going to do a remake or a sequel to something that was done a long time ago, you either have to be doing something completely different or adding value to what was currently there. And this is what they do. They add value. They add actually more history to the original story. They add more character development to the likes of Harrison Ford's character, who is obviously Rick Deckard. So this film itself kind of focuses in on bioengineered humans. They're called replicants. I don't want to spoil too much for everyone, but they're essentially used as slaves on an off-world colony. And there is a replicant hunter, essentially called a Blade Runner. A Blade Runner hunts down rogue replicants, those who aren't following the rules. And obviously his quest leads him to Rick Deckard, who of course was a former Blade Runner who vanished decades earlier. Film follows themes of memory, identity, what it means to be human, and Ryan Gosling's character struggles with his own identity and his own existence and the potential for a replicant rebellion. The film is bolder, it's more ambitious, kind of like Dune 2 with the first. It's way more ambitious than the original. Visuals are absolutely stunning, actually very similar to Dune 2. And Blade Runner honors its counterpart. It honors the original. It doesn't try to undo things it did or try to outshine what was already there. It pays homage to it while bringing us something new and unique, and it is a really great film. Very, very strong. So if you want to get your film before Dune Messiah comes out, probably years down the line, because who the hell knows when we're going to get Dune Messiah. I assume it's going to be another 2 to 3 year wait. These movies will give you that feel. Definitely watch these before you watch Dune Messiah. Guys, leave me a comment below. What is your favorite part about Dune 2? Or even let me know if you're going to see it or not. If you're a fan, if you didn't like the film, let me know why. And also let me know down below what films you want me to discuss next, whether it's the likes of Saltburn, Madame Web, or what TV shows, books. I am here to talk about anything you want. Maybe even consider, movie reactions, first time watching. Let me know. Send me all your thoughts down below and I'll be in the comments with you guys. And I'll see you next time. Here I am. Oh, there's a dog barking outside. Okay, the camera, it's so weird. Okay. Silly, silly me. Hey, can I call you back in 10 minutes? I'm just filming. Unless it's important. Okay, bye. Léa Seydoux. Is it Léa Seydoux? I could say it every single way and it's probably wrong every single way.